Hey, T. Gray Pickett here. Today's tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to use smaller images for your website. Why would you want to use smaller images for your website? Well, let me tell you. First, energy, while it exists in all forms and we are all vibrating, it still costs some form of material goods on this planet, in this reality, to power everything we do. So when you look at a website, it's got images, it's got CSS files, it's got JavaScript, it's got all these things. All that has to be shot through the tubes of the internet to you, to your browser, to your phone, wherever. If you're throwing 3.5 megabyte files across those tubes back and forth between servers, between users, you're spending that much more energy on your stuff. Now, sure, everyone loves what they're producing and yeah, you gotta have it, but we also need to be better ecological caretakers and participants on this planet. And one of the ways that you can do that is by limiting how many resources you consume. One of those resources is hard drive space and bandwidth. So if you own a website and you have images that you're serving up, please reduce the size of your files. Most of the time people are scrolling, they're seeing images for just a second. Unless you're a photographer and you really need the most amazing high def stuff, you can get away with making your files a good deal smaller, which will speed up your website, which will increase conversions because the longer a site takes to load, the more likely people are going to drop off of it. So also make sure what you're selling is irresistible so people can actually stick around. Don't get them confused. We've done that before. It's not fun. You don't make sales. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple examples of where I've optimized images to reduce the page size and also reduce the amount of energy that's needed to host my files and images and also serve them up to potential customers and site visitors. So seeing on my screen, we've got the Art of Ceremony. This is in our back end of our website for lolapickett.com. We'll be leading a retreat down in Costa Rica, specifically designed for people who are of the highly sensitive nature. And if you want to learn more, you can check out lolapickett.com, where she'll have more details about the retreat once we go live with it. But for right now, I'm just going to show you more of the design back-end side of it. So what you can see in here is I've got a large header image. Now, the original image that we got from Adobe Stock, which I highly recommend, and I have a link below in the description to go get a Creative Cloud license. You can do it for 30 days. I highly recommend it. It's way worth the price. And we got this image, downloaded it, Lola threw it up there, and when I was optimizing the site page, I was like, whoa, this is like a 300 kilobit file. And so what I did is I went into Photoshop and tweaked it and reduced the intensity of detail so I could get a smaller file size. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So if we scroll down, let's find one that I haven't done yet. So I did it on this background for the waterfall. I already did this one. These ones I think I still needed to do, but I'm not going to deal with that one. Okay, let's take this toucan, right? Let's check out what it is in Photoshop. So here's a toucan. I'm going to just see what the file size is. Okay, so our toucan is 148 kilobits. That's not bad for a 1900 by 900, whatever the file size is for this, 1900 by 700, but I know we could do better. So this is a background image. This isn't a hyper-focused image that we want to pull forward. It's more just creating an atmosphere for our offer. So what we have is we have our image opened. It was a JPEG, and she did some optimization, but I know I can get it at least 40% smaller. So one of the ways to do that is to play with detail. And do we need all the detail that's in this photo? Let's check it out. Let's look at what all the detail is. So we have tons of detail in the branch, in this bromeliad, in the toucan herself. We have a nice depth of field blur in the background, which is going to help with our file size because there's not so much information that's unique to each pixel. But what's going to end up happening is we got to just pick out, well, what is the context? Where is my text overlaid? How can I manipulate this image to make it a lighter size? So it speeds up my site, so people will stick around and they won't bail and go check out someone else's retreat. So I look at it and I know that we have the text in the center. It's going to be a little more funky when I get down to mobile size, but then I can play around with that as well. So I'm looking at it. Basically what I want to do is I just want to highlight just the toucan and then I can blur out the rest. So a cool way to do that is to come down to the background, right click, say convert to smart object. The reason why we want to convert it to a smart object is now we can apply filters to it that don't actually permanently damage the image. So now we can come up to filter. I like using box blur. It just does some cool like left and right horizontal, so XY axis blurring. And I'll put it back down to 4 because I know that 4 is about what I want for this style and image. So I go okay. Now I go down to smart filters, press G to bring up my gradient tool, and I want the circle, and I just start on my toucan and I draw out because it's going to make a radius. This is the radius of the circle for the gradient, and I let go. Oh no, the toucan's blurred, but the branch is in focus. Don't worry about it. Command I, inverse. So you'll see down here, because I have the mask selected, it's just inversing where the black is and where the white is. Now we got a little bit of the toucan's tail. So now I can take a brush tool, lower the opacity, get it down to about that size, and now I can kind of brush away some of that blurring. I really want the opacity a lot higher than that, just so I can make it happen without spending a lot of time fussing with it. And if there's anything else that I saw that I really wanted to maintain, I could pull back in some of the detail on the tip of our birdie. And just snag that. And then if you want to get crazy with this and get really creative, you don't have to. I mean, I can blur out a little bit more of these things in the foreground. You can see that. Now, that was a bit egregious for me. So I'm going to pop it up, pull it back to a black, and just get those back. But otherwise, I think we're pretty good on that. Something else that I will do from time to time is play with the lightness and darkness. So you can come down to curves and either kick it up or lower it. Sometimes I lower it just because we're light text on a dark background, so I want better contrast. Now let's check this out. So I'm gonna export as, so let's set it to 50%. You can honestly choose 50%. I swear to God, it will not mess with your image that much. Leave everything else the same and export all. And we're gonna do toucan background blur. Save it, save it. Then we jump over to image optim, and I'm going to command open, command O, and I'm going to jump to where I was. Toucan box blur. Look at what we've already done. This photo is already 86 kilobits small compared to 148. I haven't even compressed it further, and I've still managed to save about 40% of the kilobits that are in this file. So my page is going to load faster. People are going to enjoy the page more. It doesn't really matter because it's a background image anyway. And most likely people will just like, oh, toucan, cool, cute. I can't wait to go. Right? So we go open. 70%. I went from 148. So 70 divided by 148. 52% savings in file size. So I use that much less energy on the server. On my hard drive, I have more room for other things. I don't have to serve up as many kilobits to my end user. Awesome, right? So that's just one of the ways that you can actually improve your time because you will get more sales. And if you like this tip, definitely subscribe and find out how you can work with me and play with me as I come up with more things. I have no idea what those look like. at this moment, but they are currently in the works. And I really appreciate your time being with me today. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day playing with Photoshop.